pranati. Om jnana timirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai shri gurave namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamakyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatang Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitangscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Anarpita charing chirat karanaya vatirna kalo. Samarpaita munnato chalara sangsa bhakti shriyam. Hari purata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipita. Sada hridaya khandare spuratuva satchinandana. This last verse is a benedictory verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 1, verse 4, translation. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendentally situated in the innermost chambers of your heart, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold. He has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So I thought it's a nice benedictory verse to remember. Krishnadas Kaviraj is blessing us to have Lord Chaitanya in the innermost recesses of the heart. Sada hridaya kandare spuratu. Let the Lord always be in the recesses of the heart. And we have Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura's song from Saranagati. Goptritve Varanam, song number 3. And this is having the following translation. Now that I have surrendered all I possess, I fall prostrate before your house. You are the Supreme Lord. Kindly consider me your household dog. Chain me nearby and maintain me as you will. I shall remain at the doorstep and allow no enemies to enter your house. I will keep them at the bounds of the moat surrounding your home. Whatever remnants your devotees leave behind, after honoring your prasad, will be my daily sustenance. I will feast on those remnants with great ecstasy. While sitting up, while lying down, I will constantly meditate on your lotus feet. Whenever you call, I will immediately run to you and dance in rapture. I will never think of my own maintenance, but rather remain transported by a multitude of ecstasies. Bhaktivinoda accepts you as his only support. Okay, and now in Bengali with harmonium accompaniment. Sarvasva tomār Carane piyā echi tomāra ghare tumi Thakura tomāra kukur boliyā jānaho āmāre Sarvasva Tomar Carane piyā echi tomāra ghare tumi Thakur tomāra kukur boliyā jānaho āmāre bāńdhiyā nikat āmāre pālibe rohibo tomāra ghare pratīpa-janere asite nadibo rohibo ghare hāre bāńdhiyā nikat āmāre pālibe rohibo tomāra ghare pratīpa-janere asite nadibo rohibo ghare hāre tava nija-jana prasada seviya uchishta rakibe jaha āmāre bhojana parama-ānande prati-din habe taha tava nija-jana prasada seviya uchishta rakibe jaha āmāre bhojana parama-ānande prati-din habeta boliyā suya tomāra carana cintivo satata ami nachite nikate jaivo jakona takibe tumi boliyā suya tomāra carane cintivo satata ami nachite nikate jaivo jakon takibe tumi nijera poshana kabuna bhavivo rohibo bhavera vore Bhaktivinoda Tomara palaka boliyā Varana kore nijera poshana kabuna bhavivo rohibo bhavera vore Bhaktivinoda Tomare palaka boliyā Varana kore Sarvasva tomāra Carane piyā echi tomāra ghare tumi Thakur tomāra kukur boliyā jānaho more Sarvasva tomāra Carane piyā echi tomāra ghare tumi Thakur tomāra kukur boliyā jānaho more Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Bo, Haribo, Haribo, Gor Haribo, Nitai Go, Haribo, 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 Gor Haribo. Now that I have surrendered all I possess, I fall prostrate before your house. You are the Supreme Lord. Kindly consider me your household dog. Sarvasva Tomar Carane piyā. Having given piyā at your feet, Tomar Carane, Sarvasva, everything, echi tomār ghare. I fall, echi tomār ghare, in front of your house. Tumi to Thakur, you are the master. Tomar kukur, I am the dog. Boliyā jānaho more. Kindly consider me like that. Bāńdhiyā nikate. Nikate means nearby. Chain me nearby. Bāńdhiyā, having bound me nearby. Āmāre pālibe. Maintain me as you will. Of course, this is the theme of this section of Saranagati, is maintenance. So pālibe. Rohibo tomār ghare. I shall remain at the doorstep. Rohibo, I will remain. Tomār ghare, at your door. Pratīpa-janere. Enemy people. Pratīpa. People who are opposed to you. Asite nadibo, I will not allow them to enter. Rakibo goder pare. Goder, I guess, means moat, which is like a water canal circling a castle. Then tava nija-jana prasad seviya uchishta rakibe jaha. Whatever remnants your devotees leave behind after honoring your prasad will be my daily sustenance. So nija-jana, your people, tava nija-jana, your own people, prasad seviya, having done the service of prasad, in other words, having taken prasadam, uchishta, the remains, rakibe jaha, I will keep. Āmāre bhojan parama-ānande, prati-din habe taha. I will feast on those remnants with great ecstasy. Āmāre bhojan, that will be my bhojan, my meal, my food. Prati-din habe taha. And this will be prati-din, every day. Bosya suya, bosya, sitting, suya, lying down. Tomar charana, I will constantly meditate on your lotus feet. Chintibo satata ami. Now sometimes chinta has the sense of worry, but here he's using it not as worry, but meditating on on the Lord. But we could also take it that he is in a kind of anxiety, in the sense like a dog is always watching out for the master. Nachite nikate jāyibo jakon dakibe tumi. Whenever you call, dakibe, whenever you call, I will immediately run to you. Nikate jāyibo. Nikate is again nearby or next to you. Jāyibo, I will go, I will run. Nachite, dancing and dancing. Then finally, nijar poshan kabuna bhavibo. I will never think of my own maintenance. Nijar poshana, my own maintenance. Kabuna, at any time. Bhavibo, I will think. Na bhavibo, I will not think. Rohibo bhavir bhore. Rather, I will remain transported by bhava, by ecstasy. So bhava is used in two senses here, thinking and feeling. And then finally, Bhaktivinoda says, Tomar palaka, boliyā, Varana ghare. Bhaktivinoda accepts you as his only support. Varana, accepting in this case, boliyā has stated, has declared. Tomar palaka. Tomāre palaka. He accepts you as his only protector. There's, I think, an interesting side to this, because he's saying, you're my master, think of me as your dog. And then that has two sides. One is the master is maintaining the dog, but the dog is also protecting the master. The dog is being alert and ready to chase away any enemies and so on. Yeah, so that's nice. It's a strong image. In Indian culture, dogs, at least up till recently, have not been regarded very much. They're considered very lowly beings, so to say. So many street dogs are there, and they have a very, very harsh life. I say up till recently because now we see more pet dogs, especially in the cities. But of course, in the villages, people, I don't know how much they would think of the dogs as pets, but they would be also somehow seen as belonging as part of the village, if not of the household. But now, of course, we get in the cities with the people in apartments, and people are keeping their dogs in their apartments. I think in earlier times, no one would have considered doing that in India. So it seems to be a Western influence. Yeah. When I was a boy, for some time we had a dog. It was an Alaskan Husky dog, and he was an outdoors dog, but he had to be kept, it's mentioned here, bāńdhiyā. This dog had to be kept on a chain. And it was a sad situation, really. And finally, one day, he broke off the chain and ran away. And we found the dog miles away, and we found, or I think my father posted an advertisement: if you find this dog, please, report to us, and we'll give you a reward. So someone phoned us and said, "We found your dog, according to your description." And at that time, because those people lived in the country and we were in more of a suburban arrangement, my father said, actually, why don't, if you like, you can keep the dog, because we see that he's not happy where he is. So, yeah. So it's an interesting meditation. Think of oneself as Krishna's dog. Prabhupada would say, we have a dog collar. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So again, to those of you who have joined later, welcome and thank you for joining us. And we are continuing with our Saturday Sangas, our Zoom Sangas. Let me mention, just in case I forget later to say, I'm not 100% sure I can be online next Saturday at this time. I'm planning on it, but it could be that another situation will be there. But we will see. If for some reason it doesn't work, we'll inform, of course. And what else? Announcements, early announcements. Yeah, tomorrow, tomorrow I'm giving a class for devotees in Dominican Republic. Now is your time for your geography lesson. Where is Dominican Republic, right? It's in the Caribbean, and it's an island, and it's in the same time zone as New York. So all of you in the New York, Boston area, you can be in tune at 1 o'clock your time. I think it's 7 o'clock my time. Okay, so show and tell. Who's up?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So we have 3 presenters today. We have Hemanga Gopi Mataji, then Avaduta Rai Prabhu, then Sugopi Tunga Vidya Mataji.
Okay.
Hemanga Gopi Mataji, can you unmute, please?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
My obeisances, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, all devotees. So I will try to do what I tried to do last time, but I hope that we will have a be more fortunate than last time. So again, I have just say again in brief, that was my great inspiration from these academic conferences a couple of months ago, which we had online. We actually, it was arranged to be here in Slovenia, but due to coronavirus, so it's postponed for the next year. But now I would like to really show in maybe 3 to 4 minutes or 5 minutes, I don't know, this very inspiring conversation after Maharaj's presentation. So some scholars asked some question about his presentation, and Maharaj really amazingly present the project of Shivara Maharaj in Hungary, and they were very impressed, and this organizer and also scholar, in the end he expressed his willingness to explore more about Shivara Maharaj's life. So that was very inspiring to me, because I really know how Maharaj always stressed that this is very important, that we as a spiritual family try to serve each other. And when I see how Maharaj is doing that, that's really increasing my willingness to try to develop the quality to also serve my God family and also other devotees. So I hope that we will have that it will be okay this time. I have my laptop now, so can you just allow me to share my screen, Dharma Gopta Prabhu?
I think, Mataji, you have always a possibility. You have this green.
Dharma Gopta Prabhu, can you allow me to share my screen?
Yes, Mataji, you can share. Everyone can share. There is no limitations. There are no restrictions, so you can share.
Okay, just a second. Again. So I want to share from my email, but now I don't have an option. Why is that? I don't know. Just a second. Just a second. So I'm just thinking how to share this, because now I'm here on this thing, but it's not allowed me to share. Why not? I don't know. Oh, so I don't know why it's not okay. I found, but if it's so, but I'm not sharing still. You cannot hear anything.
After that we have.
Can you hear this or see this? Hare Krishna. What happened? Oops. Oh. Files. I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me? No.
We can hear you, but we don't see anything.
Okay, so what is my suggestion? I don't know what's going on. Maybe I can actually send a link to Dharma Gopta and just tell him from where he can just show, and maybe when we manage that somebody else proceed. Because I don't know what's going on now.
Okay, let's try that.
Oh, thank you.
It's a good try.
Yes. Thank you. So I will send you here in this private chat, Dharma Gopta Prabhu.
Okay.
Okay, thank
you. And meanwhile, Shall we have the next?
Should I start and then later will be the presentation of?
Yes, I think so. Go ahead.
My humble obeisances, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to assembled devotees. I was thinking to share one anecdote with Srila Prabhupada, which happened in Calcutta, actually. It's very interesting. It's about Lord Chaitanya, Krishna, and Srimati Radharani also. And in the early days in Calcutta, devotees did not have their...
Daitesha, if you can turn off your microphone, please.
They didn't have their own land. They were renting a land, and the landowner was Mr. Rai. He was actually born in Vaishnava family, and he was very cultured and also a little bit proud because he's a cultured Vaishnava, which what is not actually so bad to be cultured, because many Vaishnavas are not so cultured, and he was very, very cultured, very like a gentleman. Like Prabhupada said, we should be gentlemen. And he knew that here in the ashram in Calcutta is also one Swami, Achyutananda Swami. And of course, because of his pride, Mr. Rai was thinking, well, I'm a local. I'm like Ramananda Roy in Chaitanya Lila. He was also a landlord. I'm also a landlord. So actually, although I'm not a sannyasi, I'm still better than Achyutananda Swami because yeah, I'm a Vaishnava from birth, and he's just a new devotee, like that. And that was his pride, a little bit about that. So one day it came that Achyutananda Swami and this Mr. Rai, they met, and they were speaking about the land. And of course, at one point, Mr. Rai was telling to Achyutananda Swami, I think that there is time for you that I tell you some very confidential things. And because Achyutananda Swami was not so long a devotee, and he was eager to hear new things and to get knowledge, he was very enthusiastic to hear that. So, yes, please tell me. And okay, Mr. Rai, he said, did you know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is greater than Radha and Krishna? He's more sweet and he's more beautiful. Of course, this was very mind-blowing to Achyutananda Swami, and he was asking how. Then Mr. Rai said, he gave an analogy which later also Srila Prabhupada used. Mr. Rai said, well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like rasagula. And from what is made rasagula? From milk and sugar. So what is more nice, milk and sugar or the rasagula? So in that way, actually, he was explaining to Achyutananda Swami that rasagula is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he's more better and nice, more beautiful than Radha and Krishna. Okay, then this was very interesting. This sounded very interesting for Achyutananda Swami. He was thinking, wow, what a great devotee is Rai, Mr. Rai, please tell me more, he was asking. And then he said, you have to also understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the origin of Radha and Krishna. So this was completely mind-blowing to Achyutananda Swami, and he was a bit bewildered. So he went to Prabhupada. At that time, Prabhupada was there in Calcutta, and he told everything what he heard from Mr. Rai. And then, of course, at the end, Achyutananda Swami was asking, Prabhupada, please tell me, who is first, Radha Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? So Srila Prabhupada, he used this analogy of rasagula and milk and sugar, and he said, what is first, rasagula or milk and sugar? This is funny too, sorry. And actually, through this analogy, Prabhupada explained a very sublime, very difficult subject matter, and very nicely, in very simple way. High truths are explained in very simple way. It is said. This was the ability of Prabhupada. So then Achyutananda Swami, of course, he was asking, but who is greater, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Krishna? So Prabhupada, he could see that Achyutananda Swami is a little bit transcendentally contaminated. This is how this Swami, one of the Swami from who I heard this story, this is how he said he was transcendentally contaminated, because he's asking this question, who is greater, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Krishna? So Prabhupada, he understood, oh, he's under the influence of Mr. Rai. So Srila Prabhupada a little bit paused, and then he said, Srimati Radharani is the greatest, not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not Krishna. So Achyutananda Swami didn't really understood this, and Srila Prabhupada saw this. So, because they were in a room of Srila Prabhupada, there was some picture there. Srila Prabhupada did show one picture on the wall. Do you see here Srimati Radharani? Her, she is here in her, how you say this in English, in her mood of mana, transcendental anger. Now you tell me, please, what Krishna is doing here? And Achyutananda Swami said, yeah, I see that Krishna is kneeling before Srimati Radharani and asking for forgiveness. And then Srila Prabhupada, with his raised finger, said, you see, Srimati Radharani is greater. Srimati Radharani is greater. Yes, Srila Prabhupada, yes, she's the greatest. And then, of course, Srila Prabhupada did show one other picture, and he was asking Achyutananda Swami, and what do you see here? What is Krishna doing here? Well, Krishna is carrying the shoes of Nanda Maharaj on his head. And then Srila Prabhupada said, you see, Nanda Maharaj is greater than Krishna. Nanda Maharaj is greater. All the residents of Vrindavan are greater than Krishna because they have love for Krishna. They can control Krishna. And then there was one small explanation. Brihad Bhagavat Swami, I think his name is. He said that actually all the residents of Vrindavan are pervaded by the Hladini Shakti of Srimati Radharani. That's why the residents of Vrindavan are greater than Krishna. And in the end, he said one sentence which was very interesting. I heard this very first time in my life, I have to admit. It is what Prabhupada said, that the way to develop love for Krishna as the residents of Vrindavan have is to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So this much I wanted to share. It was very interesting to me, this story. And I was thinking this month is the very special month when we worship Radha and Krishna. And here is a small anecdote, maybe appropriate for this time to tell. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Very nice. Yes. Achyutananda was one of the first devotees, disciples of Srila Prabhupada to go to India. And he spent quite some time in Calcutta, Navadvip, and he learned Bengali quite well, as far as I know. And I remember.
Aprendió bengalí temprano.
Whoops.
Oh.
We need to turn off microphone.
Okay, but I will not translate that.
Oh, well, then again, we have this technical question of how to arrange, because otherwise we all hear you see. So then how is that supposed to work?
Excuse me, Datyasha Prabhu, just click on Spanish channel again, please. Click on English.
I don't see it. I don't have it on my screen.
So, okay. I apologize. Let me.
If you click on the screen, then it should appear, because I'm using this too. I know. I can be heard. So I just like to.
Yeah.
No, es que no lo tengo. Es que yo no tengo eso en la pantalla.
It's not working this way. You should have this. Okay.
Claro, pero yo no lo tengo acá.
So Dharma Gupta, he's not seeing the globe with interpretation. He says he doesn't have it there. Sorry.
Because he's translating. It should be at the bottom, but above those.
Technology.
Datyasha Prabhu, you have to close and reopen, rejoin the meeting again, please. So you will see it in the bottom of your screen. But you have to log in with your username and password. With your username and password, which you logged in usually. So once you logged in, you will be able to see all the features of the translation. And I will assign you as a translator again, once you log in back again.
Okay. Yes, so I remember fairly soon after I joined the devotees in Germany, there came out a long play album of bhajans, of singing, of Vaishnav songs, Bhaktivinoda, Thakura, and Narottam Das Thakur songs. That was all recorded by Achyutananda. And I remember how much we were struck by that, because this was the first time we heard anything other than Srila Prabhupada that sounded authentic Bengali. we had, of course, we were hearing Srila Prabhupada, and that was wonderful. And now we were hearing another devotee, and he was a Western devotee, but he was singing these, Bengali melodies and songs. And that was a big, I don't know, that was some kind of significant moment in everyone's Vaishnav cultural life at the time. Okay, so now are we going back to Hemangi Gopi, or are we going to, who else did we have?
I think Mataji Hemangi Gopi is still preparing, so we'll go back to Sugopi Tungavini Mataji.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Maharaj and everyone from Vrindavan here. And yes, and now the autumn has just arrived, just a few days back. The weather has completely changed from rain and humid, and now it's dry and a pleasant breeze. Of course, the sun is quite bright here. Daytime it might be a bit hot, but still it's very comfortable. So I chose, I was just going through Canto 10 of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I chose few verses, like I will read the translation, which is quite opportune for this time, like the mood of Vrindavan here. So I'm here in Vrindavan, and I clicked few pictures in the morning while doing parikrama. So I will share that also with you. And I was quite pleasantly surprised that now the roads have really become good. And yeah, many devotees are still here, like coming here, and they aren't very scared of COVID. Nobody, in fact, is wearing masks here. So I don't know, like hopefully Krishna will protect all of us. And yeah, it's beautiful here. So I'm just narrating few of the translations of the verses, which I found very nice. This is from chapter 20, the rainy season and autumn in Vrindavan. The sky was then covered by dense blue clouds, accompanied by lightning and thunder. Thus the sky and its natural illumination were covered in the same way that the spirit soul is covered by the three modes of material nature. With its rays, the sun had for 8 months drunk up the earth's wealth in the form of water. Now that the proper time has arrived, the sun began releasing this accumulated wealth. Flashing with lightning, great clouds were shaken and swept about by fierce winds. Just like merciful persons, the clouds gave their lives for the pleasure of this world. In the evening twilight, during the rainy season, the darkness allowed the glowworms, but not the stars to shine forth. Just as in the age of Kali, the predominance of sinful activities allows atheistic doctrines to overshadow the true knowledge of the Vedas. All these creatures of the land and the water took advantage of the newly fallen rainwater. Their forms became attractive and pleasing, just as a devotee becomes beautiful by engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord. Just as devotees whose minds are absorbed in the personality of Godhead remain peaceful, even when attacked by all sorts of dangers, the mountains in the rainy season were not at all disturbed by the repeated striking of the rain-bearing clouds. The peacocks became festive and cried out a joyful greeting when they saw the clouds arrive. Just as people distressed in household life feel pleasure when the pure devotees of the infallible Supreme Lord visit them. The autumn season, which regenerated the lotus flowers, also restored the various bodies of water to their original purity, just as the process of devotional service purifies the minds of the fallen yogis when they return to it. The clouds, having given up all their possessed, shone forth with purified effulgence, just like peaceful sages who have given up all material desires and are thus free of all sinful propensities. The autumn moon relieved all the creatures of the suffering caused by the sun's rays, just as wisdom relieves a person of the misery caused by his identifying with this material body. And as Lord Mukunda relieves Vrindavan's ladies of the distress caused by their separation from him. So yeah, that's all for I selected for reading. Yeah, and I would like to share some pictures of Vrindavan just today morning, which I chose. And yeah, I found yeah, I have to share screen, right? I have to share screen. Yes, there it is. So yeah, a lot of paintings were around and so paintings on the walls. This is a new thing in India. In fact, coming up, I find it in Delhi and Gurgaon also. And yeah, artistic display on the walls as you go around Parikrama Marg. So these are, yeah, this is also a cute painting I found. Krishna washing Radharani's feet. Yeah, just like yeah, Braj people, they dress up as Radha Krishna. I found these two children. This is River Yamuna today morning. This is the Imli Tola where Mahaprabhu would sit and then meditate and look into the Yamuna. I found these two cows. In fact, this is a calf, I think so. And they were having a bit of cuddle with each other. This is another painting. This is Madan Mohan temple. While parikrama, the devotees, you can find, yeah, best time for parikrama, I feel that it is 5:30 or 5:45 in the morning. It's very beautiful as the sun slowly comes up. Yeah, this is the sunrise when I just started for parikrama, few steps, 5-10 minutes, sunrise on the parikrama road. Yeah, this is a huge Narsingadev painting. I stood so that one can guess the size of the painting. This river Yamuna again, today morning. And these two little monkeys ready for the shoot. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. That's what I wanted to share.
Jai.
Thank
Shri
you.
Vrindavan Dham ki jai.
Thank you, everyone.
You're fortunate to be there, and now you have blessed all of us by the description and also the images. So we're again with Daityesha's voice in the background. Are we in the same situation? You were not able to make that adjustment? Dharmagupta, please advise us. What
Yes,
do we?
I will just disconnect Daityesha Prabhu for a moment, and he should reconnect back again into the meeting, and I will assign him as an interpreter. And I think Hemangi Gopi Mataji is ready now.
Okay.
Mukunda Prabhu will share the screen because the video should be downloaded first, and then it was a procedure a little bit. So now they are ready. Okay, here it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't think it's going to come across. We don't get any of the audio.
Kunda Prabhu?
Is it better now?
Well, we're not getting any of the audio. It may be that it doesn't work because
You have to increase the volume
because
of the video, I think.
One more question. It's Professor.
oh, okay, now.
Okay, I have a question. I mean, I know that I know for Gaudiya Vaishnavism and probably for most of Hinduism, this idea of rediscovering or reinscribing a certain landscape with an existing pilgrimage is something that is present and much prevalent. But in particularly in this instance, I mean, I visited the Hungarian farm and I was always curious about this thing. Well, how exactly did this discovery inscription happen? In terms of phenomenology, did they take out the map and meditate over the map? Did they have similar certain experiences with particular locality, that made them connect certain points, in the landscape with a certain locality in India. So, if you can say something about that. Thank you.
Yes, it's a nice question. I happen to be reading in Shivaram Swami's book. It's again, he's very matter of fact about this. Maybe I should mention he is born and raised in his early years in Hungary, but then his family moved to Canada, and then many years later he moved back to Hungary. So he's kind of Canadian-Hungarian. But he's very matter of fact. He says, once we got the land, which took them 2 years to find, he said, I had been in Vrindavan so many times. I had traveled around the Braj area, 160 square kilometers, whatever it is. I can't say, he said, I can't say that I knew this, the original Vrindavan so well, but he had a sense. He took out a map of this new property in Hungary and drew a lotus shape with the temple in the center. And then based on this sort of inscribing a lotus mandala, if you like, he just started placing particular places. Govardhan Hill, Yamuna was, he explains also the Yamuna River, there is a water, something of a stream there. Some places seemed kind of natural, others, he said he spent a lot of time reflecting on this. I think he said over a period of a couple of months, reflecting, meditating, but then he said once the places were established and the practice of visiting these places was underway, over time, his experience was that these were really what he was seeing them as being. Govardhan really is Govardhan, and Vamshivata is really Vamshivata, and so on. He felt this sense of identification. But again, I think this is because of this, what I want to call, or what Paul Griffiths calls religious reading, which I think is so essential to this whole concept.
Yes, thanks so much, Kenneth. I mean, your presentation really inspired me to look into the life of Shivaram Swami. What a fascinating person. Holocaust survivor family, migrates to Canada, is in search of a spiritual message that can transcend time and place, and finds it in Hare Krishna. It's an extraordinary story. And that alone has a certain drawing power, his journey, to reach that point. And he pulls people to him for that.
He's, I know him personally. He's a very soft-spoken person and very reflective, thoughtful person. Very nice person.
So I think we've reached the end of that of our session.
I finished.
Thank you, Mukunda, for helping, for supporting, because the file, it was very huge. I didn't know that it's needed to download before, because I tried when it's one person, it works, but now it doesn't work. Anyway, that was very, very inspiring for me, how really Maharaj is amazingly serving Srila Prabhupada's mission in these academical circles, and also glorifying his God brothers and their project and their service. And it's amazing how also these scholars react and how they are also very impressed. Thank you so much for tolerating me, and thank you for,
thank you. We finally it was successful, your effort. So yeah, it was a nice conference. It was the first time I've been in an online academic conference, but it went very well. And there's going to be another conference, academic conference I'm part of, coming up in beginning of December, the American Academy of Religion. I'm on one panel for that. So I have to prepare that presentation. It won't be about New Rajadam. It's about reading the Bhagavatam. And the general topic, let's see, the general topic of that panel, I can read the title, is The Implications of Being Earnest, Sincerity in South Asian Contexts. That's the theme. And when I came across this some months ago, I thought, oh, that looks like something we could say something about with regard to reading the Bhagavatam. So my title for that upcoming presentation is Earnestness in Hearing and Reading the Bhagavata Purana. So it'll be a chance to talk about the Bhagavatam in the academic world. Why not?
Thank you so much. I hope you will share with us after.
I don't know if it'll be possible to, I don't know if the sessions will be recorded or not. That'll be interesting to know because, yeah, I just have no idea whether that'll happen.
Okay, thank you so much for your amazing service and really inspiration. That's really inspired me a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, we're getting the translation of the word earnest in, I don't know what. Oh, that's in Turkish language. Okay. Carane is giving us the Turkish translation of the word or meaning of the word earnest. Okay, so shall we now continue to discuss the Holy Dham? We have been hearing about the Holy Dham from Sugopi, who is present in the Holy Dham. I was reminded, by the way, of that because that chapter in the Bhagavatam describing the autumn season, Srila Prabhupada had hopes there was an opportunity that he could go to Japan and do a presentation, a kind of exhibition there on that subject. And because it didn't work out financially, somehow the funding for travel didn't come through. That never happened. But then years later, devotees commissioned art, paintings to illustrate. Was that Tomar Krishna Goswami may have arranged to illustrate those verses painted by a Chinese painter, specifically to have this Chinese style. And maybe you have seen that book that was published in English and I think also in other languages. Quite very nicely done book and a very nice meditation on, indeed, on Vrindavan. Okay. So we're continuing with Navaraja Mahima, and the subject is the truths of the Dhama, and more specifically, the subject is how the Dhama is invoked by the presence of sadhus, and the example is given. Shivarama Maharaj is giving example, as we might expect, of Srila Prabhupada arriving in New York in 1965, after which then the Dhama has been manifest all over the world, especially in the form of temples. And then he wants to emphasize how Srila Prabhupada saw these temples. He quotes him. This is with respect to what he called the Vaikuntha atmosphere. So Prabhupada wrote, "You should know it that our temples, they are not in this material world. The temple is Vaikuntha, where Krishna is remembered and served 24 hours daily without stopping." So we already are in Vaikuntha by participating in the temple activities, unquote. And then he points out that Srila Prabhupada, when a new temple would be opened, often Srila Prabhupada would refer to it as new such and such. So of course, new Vrindavan, new Jagannath Puri was in San Francisco. New Dwaraka was Los Angeles. And this is also following an American tradition, because the city of New York was called New York because the original York in England inspired somebody. I don't know, maybe they were from York. And then you have New Jersey, which is inspired by the island of Jersey, which is a British island closer to France than it is to England, from which some of my ancestors came, and so on. So New Dwaraka, New Jagannath Puri, New Vrindavan. And he explicitly, Prabhupada wanted these to be, again here, he uses the word replica. He wanted these to be replicas, especially New Vrindavan he saw as replicating Vrindavan, and specifically by having replicas of the 7 main temples of the Gaudiya Vaishnava, of the Goswamis. And in a note, he quotes Srila Prabhupada in a letter, 1968, referring to New Vrindavan, I believe. He said, I understand the spot, the place is very beautiful, and the hills may be renamed as New Govardhan. And if there are lakes, they can be renamed as Shyamakunda and Radha Kunda. And of course, this was following a tradition which is already happening in India. And I don't remember if I mentioned this, but Banavishnupur became a replication of Vrindavan for Rajbir Hambir after Srinivasacharya met him and converted him to Vaishnavism, Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Yes, and he refers to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur excavating. He uses the word excavating, which is digging up Radha Kunda and Shyamakunda adjacent to Prithu Kunda in Mayapur in order to commemorate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's absorption in Vraja Leela. And it says here, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur arranged for a truckload of stones to be transported from Govardhan Hill in Vraja all the way to Mayapur, a truckload of Govardhan Shilas. And there's a note, an interesting note to this. So it's said that Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, as you may know, at one time he made a vow to chant the Mahamantra 1 billion times, and he stayed in Mayapur all of that time, a period of some 9 years, eating 1 meal a day, khichdi, and just chanting. And when it rained and the roof was leaking of the hut he stayed in, he would just hold an umbrella and he would continue chanting. So it's said that during that time he had a vision of Radha Kunda and Shyamakunda. And this inspired him to recreate Radha Kunda, Shyamakunda there where he was in Mayapur. Now, it's pointed out here that in Navadvip, in the whole of the greater Navadvip area, all of the places of Braja are identified. So there is a place which is identified as where Radhakund is located, and that's in Ritudvip. Ritudvip is quite some distance away from Mayapur. And Govardhan is located, understood to be located in Koladvip, which is essentially present, the city of Navadvip today is essentially Koladvip. And yet, he says, the Radhakunda and Shyamakunda created by Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur are seen by those who visit that temple. It's called Vrajapattana, the house of Chandrasekharacharya. At that place, they feel that this is indeed Radhakund, Shyamakunda, and Govardhan Hill by the grace of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. So this replication is going on by the power, by the grace of such Vaishnavas. And then he gives the example of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami's residence in Ramakeli. They had their installed deity of Madan Mohan, and they also excavated, they dug Radha Kunda and Shyamakunda, and then they beautified these places with gardens. And this was while they were engaged in the service of, what's his name, the ruler of Bengal at the time, the Muslim ruler. During that time, they were absorbed in Krishna Bhakti as making themselves, so to say, at home in Vrindavan prior to meeting Lord Chaitanya, who then sends them to the actual Vrindavan to excavate the holy places there. Shivaram Swami says, in essence, these Dhammas appear in response to the pure devotion of a Vaishnava shown through Nama Sankirtana. There's no need for any ritual, only the offering of bhakti. And then he compares this to the installation of deity when the devotee, the exalted Vaishnava, determines that here shall be the worship of Krishna, here is the deity of Krishna, and that will of the devotee invites the Lord. The Lord comes by the will of, by the desire, by the bhakti of that devotee through his Nama Sankirtana, through his, or we can say her Nama Sankirtana. Which Srila Prabhupada said is the essential activity in installing of a deity. Sometimes I may have told this time I visited in South India, in Hyderabad, and I found out that Sampat Kumar Bhattacharya, one very well-known Pandit and Acharya, was living there, and I learned that I had already heard that he had conducted the installation ceremony for Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, the deities of the ISKCON temple in Hyderabad. Srila Prabhupada had asked him to do the installation, or the devotees there arranged, but in any case, Prabhupada was there. And so I visited Sampat Kumar Bhattacharya, very nice gentleman. He was very happy, he was very welcoming, and we spoke for some time. He spoke very good English. And I told him I was on a mission to visit different Nrsimha temples in South India, upon which he immediately began reciting verse after verse after verse in Sanskrit of the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. He just spontaneously, Nrsimhadev, yes, and then he started reciting verses. So we talked about that for some time, and then he went in his back room and he came out and he showed me, if I remember, it was he had a letter from Srila Prabhupada, and I think it was framed. He had framed this letter. He was very proud that he'd gotten this letter from Srila Prabhupada in which Prabhupada is thanking him for having performed these rituals of installing the deity. So on the one side, Prabhupada would say to the devotees, we don't need any of these rituals. We just chant Hare Krishna, that's enough. That's all that's needed. And on the other side, he appreciated when the rituals were very well done, when they were properly performed. And he expressed that in his letter to Sampat Kumar Bhattacharya. Yeah, he made this same point in the installation of the Krishna Balaram deities in Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan, that really all that's necessary is Nam Sankirtana. Still, we will do the rituals because otherwise no one will take us seriously. No one in Vrindavan will accept our deity worship. So we may remember that some weeks ago, the first point came up that, in fact, the holy Dham is everywhere because Krishna is everywhere, and wherever Krishna is, there is the holy Dham. But now, Maharaj makes this point, we do not worship everything as the Dhama, despite its all-pervasive nature, any more than we worship the things of this world as deities of Krishna, despite his all-pervasive nature. We worship the Dhamma in those places in which it is particularly invoked. Places almost always in the vicinity of a deity. Srila Prabhupada points out that pure devotion is what helps us to distinguish the black marble in the deity from the black marble in the temple floor. So it's devotion that makes the difference. And it is devotion that inspires us to worship the former, the deity, even as we walk on the latter, the black marble floor, though both are manifestations of Krishna's energy. There's a note to this. Okay, that's just a reference. So the general connection, the point I think that's worth remembering here is this parallel between the deity and the Dhamma, the process of installing a deity and the process of replicating the Dhamma. There's a certain parallel there, which is, of course, focusing on the person, the Bhagavata, Vaishnava, who is bringing Krishna and bringing the Dhama. Now, continuing with the theme of the Holy Dham, as we know, we can remember the Holy Dham in so many ways, and that remembrance is itself a form of Dhamma Seva. So I've been reading Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and I came across an interesting passage I thought to share as an interesting remembrance of a particular place in Vrindavan, namely Kaliya Hrada. Hrada means lake, and it's the place where Kaliya, the terrible monster, multi-headed snake, was spreading his poison, and where Lord Krishna was coming to save the devotees. Perhaps I should first read this section in the Sri Krishna Lila Stava of Srila Sanatana Goswami. This, I've mentioned before, is his prayers as obeisances to the Lord, remembering his pastimes. And each of, or almost all of them, are in the vocative form, which means addressing the Lord directly. Sanatana Goswami says, for example, this is verse 190, and continuing some from there. Namaste Sviya Dukkagna Sarvakrida Visharada Kaliyahi Panaranga Nata Kaliya Mardana. I bow down to you, destroyer of sorrow for your dear ones, skillful player with the snake, dancer on the stage of Kaliya's hoods, subduer of Kaliya. Kaliya panamanikya ranjita shri padambuja nija-gandharva siddhadi gita vadyadi nartita. Your divine lotus feet they shine with the glow from the rubies on Kaliya's hoods as you danced to the songs and music played by your servants, like the Siddhas and Gandharvas. So we understand Krishna was subduing Kaliya, but how was he subduing him? He was dancing. He was enjoying himself. And this is a meditation on how the rubies on the hoods of Kaliya are illuminating the lotus feet of the Lord. So that's a nice meditation. Padambuja vimardati namita hindra mastaka raktodgari vipinangadina kaliya samsmrita. The pounding of your lotus feet pushing down the heads of the king of serpents, or pushed down the heads. Wretched Kaliya vomiting blood, his limbs broken, finally recognized who you were. And then it goes on describing how the Lord was pleased with the prayers of the serpent's wives. And then granting the serpent's wives what they prayed for. O bestower of causeless mercy, you, Krishna, marked that serpent with the signs of your feet, the same signs aspired for by devotees who have given up all other goals of life. Now, the imprint of Krishna's lotus feet is going to come up also in Brihat Bhagavatamrita in a slightly different way. And this is in the midst of the chapter 6 of part 2 called Abhishtalabha, the attainment of all desires. And this is all happening now in Goloka, and the devotee is describing all of this to his student from Mathura. He's describing, he is seeing Krishna in Vrindavan, and he's seeing how attached the devotees are, how attached the devotees, the residents of Vrindavan, to Krishna, are attached to Krishna. And so he comes to one interesting incident, because all of this is happening after what is described in the Bhagavatam. And it's happening in Golokadam, it's not happening in Boma Vrindavan. So what is happening? One day, while playing on the shore of Yamuna, Lord Krishna, Nanda-nandana, heard that Kaliya had come back. Kaliya had come back to his lake. Remember, Krishna had sent Kaliya away after defeating him, and now he's coming back, but he's coming back in Golokadam. Ekaki tatra gatvashu nipa aruhya vegata kurditva nipapatasmin hrade ni sarayan apaha. Krishna rushed there alone, swiftly climbed a nipa tree and dived into the lake, splashing water onto the shore. Now, we may remember that in the Bhagavatam, Krishna is not at all alone. So many of the associates are there, but most of them are unconscious, and those who are not yet unconscious are becoming unconscious in anxiety, seeing what Krishna's doing. But now he's rushed there all alone, and he's going through the same action as he's done before. And it's explained in the commentary that Krishna does not want his friends to be poisoned again. So he wants to get there quickly, deal with Kaliya quickly, and have done with him. Of course, it's not going to quite happen that way as Krishna plans, but that's also Krishna's plan. Krishna frolicked, he played in the water, enjoying the sport of swimming back and forth and making all sorts of loud noises. But then he drew near, he came near to cruel Kaliya, and out of curiosity, he allowed himself to be enveloped, to be wrapped up in the coils of Kaliya. Now, at this point, Krishna's friends, the Gopas, who he's been with in the forest, are noticing that he's gone. And of course, this is a big problem for them. They don't know where he is, but they're in so much anxiety. What do? They do what is logical. They follow his footprints. So again, we have Krishna's footprints. Tatpada chihna, chihnayar, hradam ikshitayar amum. They followed the pada chihna, the marks of his feet. And it's explained in the commentary that there was no problem for them to recognize. They could see these are Krishna's feet because his footprints, his pada chihna, are unique. So now they come to the lake, and what do they see? They see Krishna wrapped up in the coils of Kaliya. This is going to be a problem. And it's a problem because the residents of Vrindavan keep forgetting who is Krishna. They keep, even though they're remembering Krishna constantly, they're forgetting that he is the Lord, and therefore he's all-powerful, and therefore there's nothing to worry about. They forget that, so they're very worried. They're so worried that they faint, and they get up, and then they faint, and they get up, and they faint. Even the birds of Vrindavan became exhausted from loudly crying. Trees and plants are drying up. Terrible, inauspicious omens are happening. Krishna inspires one old man now, without speaking anything, but from within the heart, this old man to run to the village and report the trouble. But Krishna wants to relieve all the residents of anxiety. He doesn't want to increase their anxiety. But they're in anxiety because they're seeing these terrible omens. Again, they don't know yet what is happening. But they understand some trouble is going on, and so they start running from the home to find out what it is. Now this report of the old man strikes them like a bolt of lightning. And now Balaram comes into the picture. Sa grihe avastito ramo mityeti goshayan santvayan rajalokang tan mritaprayan pradavataha. Balaram, who was sitting in his house, tried to console, he tried to pacify the people of Vraja who were running forward like living corpses. mrita prayan. And what was Balaram doing? He was calling out, Mithya, Mithya. It can't be true, it can't be true. It can't be that Krishna is in danger. Then Balaram tells Mother Rohini that there's some trouble going on, but he convinces her, you should stay back. And then he runs out to catch up with everyone else. And then he reaches to the Kaliya Radha and he sees, here's Krishna wrapped up in this Kaliya again. And it says, Na shaknot rakshitum dhairyam rurodha premakatara. He couldn't keep his balance, his gravity, and he wept in distress of love. Balaram, who normally knows what's going on with Krishna, and sometimes, yes, in the Kaliya pastime, in Bhagavatam, everyone is in distress except Balaram. Balaram becomes confused in the case of the Brahma Vimohan Lila, but not in the Kaliya Lila. But now he is weeping in distress of love. As he lamented, Balaram lamented in ways that would shatter logs and stones. Suddenly, Balaram faints, as do Yashoda and Nanda. All the living entities are crying out fearfully in great agony. It's like the whole universe is in crying in pain. Then Balaram wakes up because everyone is crying. He hears they're crying. He wakes up and he steadies himself and he says, no, he doesn't say. What is he? Anyway, a moment later, Krishna's parents also became conscious. They again cry out, seeing the situation of Krishna. But then Balaram holds them back by the strength of his arms. And Balaram is now really overwhelmed with sorrow because he sees everyone is unconscious on the ground. And now, in a choked voice, Sugadgada, with emotion, he calls to Krishna. And this is what Balaram says to Krishna. Ete navaikunta nivasi parshada no vanaras te na chayadava api. Goloka loka bhavat eka jivana nashyantya shakya bhagavan maya vitum. These are not the attendants who live with you in Vaikuntha. They are not the forest monkeys. They are not the Yadavas. These are your devotees of Goloka who have no life other than you. They are dying, my Lord, and there is nothing I can do to save them. So this is interesting because in the voice of Balaram, Sanatana Goswami is giving us some Dhama theology, if you like, by comparing the residents of the different Dhammas. He's reminding Krishna that you're in Vrindavan and your most intimate associates are with you here. It's not like in Dwarka, it's not like in Vaikuntha, where your residents, if they would see you in this condition, they might go, oh my, oh my, oh my, what do we do now? No, these are your most exalted followers. They're completely depending on you. And now what are you doing? You're allowing yourself to be in this condition in such a way that everyone's going mad. Will you please stop? Oh, merciful Krishna, please give up this game before these devotees die. Otherwise, oh Krishna, soul friend of the cowherds, your gentle heart will come to grief. If you don't stop this game, then you, Krishna, right now you think you're having a good time, you are going to be lamenting. Gantasi shokam mridula svabhava. You whose nature is gentle, you're going to be miserable because of what you're causing in the emotions of your devotees. So then Sri Sarupa, who is narrating all of this, says, the gopis cried and lamented in so many ways, their limbs in terrible pain, their hearts shattered by sorrow. They fainted and fainted, and as if to go to the side of their Lord, they tried to enter the lake. Okay, and now comes the denouement of the story. Suddenly, the Lord stopped his self-invented sport. Tavat vihaya, and freed himself from the grip of Kaliya's coils. He climbed up on the serpent's thousands of upraised, outspread hoods and extended his lotus arms. And now what's new, we can say, from this, in this pastime from the Bhagavatam, taking hold of all his beloved gopis at once, Krishna briskly, very quickly, raised them onto the hoods of the snake. Those hoods, delightfully swaying back and forth, appeared like rows of jeweled platforms, creating a most impressive sight. And then Krishna artfully danced with the gopis on those most amazing stages, accompanied by many celestial singers and musicians. Thus, Lord Krishna, the source of all amusement, enjoyed his rasa dance pastime. So, Krishna himself is creating a holy place within the holy place of Vrindavan by dancing. The most sacred, the most holy of holy places is the rasa stali, the place of the rasa dance. And now he's creating a new place within Vrindavan, namely on the hoods of Kaliya. So even Krishna is expanding the holy Dham with his unlimited pastimes. He is he's reinventing his fun in Vrindavan. Okay, well, let's see what you are saying. Sugopi is explaining something, or this is from the text of the Bhagavatam.
Yeah, Maharaj, I've got a slide. I gave a presentation actually 2 months back to the, I can show the slide.
How many slides?
Just a few, 10, 12, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should save that for the next time, because, well,
okay.
Let's see. Oh, this is a nice point. Kaveri is making that in the form of Nityananda Prabhu, Balaram in the form of Nityananda also reminded Gauranga. In that time, of course, he wanted to kill Jagai and Madai, and then he's reminded by Nityananda, no, this is not the time for killing. So Balaram is, he's one of his services, we can say. He reminds the Lord of who he is. I think this also comes it's been a while since I read that, at the end of part 1 of Brihad Bhagavatamrita, when Krishna is feeling separation from Vrindavan in such intensity that the devotees arrange to create a new Vrindavan on the mainland. And they bring Krishna to this new Vrindavan, which is a replica of Vrindavan. But in this replica, they have so many murtis, still, murtis of all the residents, including Nanda and Yashoda and all the gopis and the gopas. And they bring Krishna there. He's unconscious. Then he wakes up and he sees this murti of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, and he's trying to figure out where he is and what's going on. And it's not a problem to him that they are completely frozen in one place. Why are they not moving? Well, they're not moving because that was common. They were stunned in ecstasy in Vrindavan. So now they're stunned. So yeah, this must be Vrindavan. So initially Krishna is thinking like that. But it goes on to say, he's still feeling kind of bewildered. And then he turns around and he looks and he sees the island in the distance of Dwaraka. And then he becomes really confused. God becomes confused. Yes. And then, if I'm not mistaken, it's Balaram who reminds him of who he is. Remember, you are the Supreme Lord, and you are here on a mission. Yada yada hi dharmasya. You've got a job to do, and so on. Yeah. Well, our time's kind of up. Dira Lalita's asking, how come bad Kaliya comes to the purest Lord's abode? I wondered that myself because I always understood that there are no demons in Goloka. There are only rumors of demons. I don't know who it is who says that. Maybe it's Jiva Goswami. Kaliya, seems to be somewhat of a demon, but then his wives are all devotees. So he's something of an in-between character, we may want to say. In any case, of course, it's all for the expansion of Krishna's pastimes. Krishna is ever expanding his pastimes in ever fresh ways. Yeah, I think it said, Sugopi says, this was place of Garuda, and Garuda was then enabled to come back after fighting with Krishna, fought with Kali and sent him away. Krishna, 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 hey. So let us remember Krishna this next week. This is what, third week of Purushottama Masa? Second week? Okay. Third week. We have an argument. Okay, I was thinking it's third week, yes. So all the best to all of you for this third week of 16th day to be precise. Excuse me. And we will try to meet you next week. I don't expect a problem, but I'm just saying there may be some shift of situation. So we will see in the course of the week. Thank you all, and thanks to our translators and to our show and tell participants. I would like to encourage others of you who have not yet shared something to do so. I know for some of you the hesitation may be language, to speak English may be a problem, but yeah, maybe some translation can be worked out in that case. And otherwise, we like to hear from you. Yeah. So I will say, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, all the different places you are ki jai, and keep well, keep safe, and keep chanting Hare Krishna and being happy. Ghare pratīpa-janere, Hare Haribo, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much.